Hey guys, how are y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to Star Wars Month. And today for you guys is another Star Wars movie review. Today we are tackling Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We already tackled The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars animated film. Go check all of those out if you have not seen them. They're a little long, however, I just want to make sure that I touch every point. And of course today is going to be the same with Revenge of the Sith or Episode 3. So, I have my list. First things right off the bat. This is easily, out of all the categories I've been tackling, the best of the prequels. In my opinion, I love 1 and I love 2, but as movies, they're hit and miss. Episode 3 as a Star Wars film is again amazing, but Episode 3 as a real, just like a normal film, is also quite freaking good. Of course, going on to the second thing, Hayden Christensen is now somehow great as Anakin Skywalker. I don't know what the heck he did. He might have gotten acting coaches, he might have just buckled up and put his big boy pants on, I don't know, but he was pretty terrible in 2 in a lot of instances. He was alright in 2, but there were certain things in 2 that were kind of weird. This one, I don't know, he's just freaking perfect in it. I have no idea why he is so good in this, but he is. Every line that he does is essentially pretty good, maybe 1 or 2 that we'll talk about, but I really do think that Anakin Skywalker is a good, or Hayden Christensen is a good Anakin Skywalker. I really don't have that many problems with him in this. His acting is really good. I really enjoyed every single scene he was in. The acting was through the roof. Not Oscar-worthy, but Star Wars-worthy, for sure. The best CGI of the prequels, and honestly, they do still hold up today. I was watching it, and I'm like, Episode 1 and 2 have okay CGI. It's, you know, whatever. But Episode 2, or excuse me, 3, it's like, wow, this looks pretty dang good. And then you're like, holy crap, you know what I mean? The first 3 seconds is just Anakin and Obi-Wan and the Jedi Starfighters cruising around and, you know, attacking the Invisible Hand and Grievous' ship. And it looks so friggin' good. I mean, they're jumping around, their ship's exploding, everything's going to crap. R2-D2 and battle droids, it's amazing, and it all looks so good. And to tell you the truth, it really does hold up even today. Sorry if you hear that every time I try to talk, it kicks on. Going on to, this is honestly the best acting overall in any of the prequel movies. It really is good. Everything in this movie not only, you know, is acted correctly, but you really feel for these characters. 1 and 2, I didn't really feel for the characters that much, but, of course, in this movie, because you have the Clone Wars animated movie and the Clone Wars animated series, you really do have a fuller, you know, wider view of this, and the acting really does show. And I don't know if they all just got better. Padme, Natalie Portman, is still the most wooden and the worst in the entire prequel trilogy. However, she's still pretty good in this. I don't really have that many complaints about her. And going into the sound, again, sound, sorry if you can hear that, of course, like I said, but with sound, of course, there's not much to really talk about. You know, you have the, you know, the music, of course, it looks like John Williams did a great job. The blaster sounds, this sounds the best out of the original trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, and I don't really know how to say that, but it's true. Everything sounds great, the lava effects, the you know, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting in the end, and like those strings are getting hit by the lava, it all sounds amazing, and I really do think this is the best sounding of the prequels. And going on to directing, George Lucas, of course, directed this one as well, and it looks like George Lucas put his big boy pants on as well, because I really don't have a problem with a single shot in this film. There are a few scenes in shots that are weird, but overall it's directed very competently, and it's up there with really the original trilogy and the sequel stuff, and of course Solo and Rogue One, so it really is directed correctly. Editing can be good, but also not great. There are a few scenes where a character dies, Ayla Secura, aka what I call her Blue Girl. When she dies in Felucia, she kind of goes like that. Ooh, I almost fell. She kind of goes, whoa, like that, you know, and she almost dies. Well, she does die. And, of course, it's a sad thing, and it's pretty effed up, Order 66. However, it just, to me, it just looked funny. You know what I mean? Just following, I don't know, that was the only thing. But there are a few scenes where, especially, I don't know, some of the ADR is not perfect, you know, but really there's not much to complain about the editing in this film. It really is pretty darn good. Going on to the writing. Now I have here, writing is better, but not perfect, and I have some instances. So, this, out of all Episode 1 and 2, this is the best of the writing for, of course, the Star Wars prequels. This is amazing writing. It's not, you know, the Disney writing, but it still is very well made. Of course, there are a few things. I have 3 things that I don't like in this movie in terms of writing. The first one is, this is a scene when Anakin and Padme are kind of on a balcony toward maybe the middle-ish or beginning, and she goes, and he goes, oh, you know, she's like, oh, I look pretty, and Anakin's like, oh, it's only because I'm so in love, and she's like, no, it's only because I'm so in love with you, and I'm just like, what? You know, what the hell, man? It's so weird, it's gross. He's like, only because I'm so in love with you. It's like, everything was working. The acting in that scene was perfect, and then you get that bombshell of a line to ruin it. The other one was, of course, when Darth Vader, you know, he doesn't become Vader when he has the thing dropped on him. He really does, but, you know, he's Vader before that. So Darth Vader gets his helmet on, right, his suit, and of course Palpatine says, "Hey, you know, you accidentally killed your wife," and he goes, "No," you know, like that for like a minute and a half, and I'm just like, you ruined the scene, man. You freaking mucked it up, and it was so perfect. It would have been better if I was directing or having that edited. Instead of going, "No," you know, like this really weird thing, I just would have had him, like, scream, "Ah," or just, like, throw shit, or, you know, anything. Other than scream, "No," because that is terrible. And yes, that's been heavily memed and heavily mocked. Rightly so, it really does ruin the scene. Last one was, of course, before Anakin and Darth Vader, aka Obi-Wan's, or Anakin still, their fight, and he goes, Anakin says, "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy." And I'm like, what the hell? Again, you ruined the scene. Great acting, great atmosphere, great CGI, everything's great. All these layers are good. And then you get, "If you're not with me, you're my enemy." I'm like, this is so stupid, you know what I mean? It doesn't work. So again, there were really only 3 things in this movie I didn't like in terms of writing, but compared to 1 and 2, man, it's like a milestone. It's way better. Going on to the fight scenes. The fight scenes are, of course, the best in the prequel trilogy so far. It's not weird-looking CGI, or whenever you see Count Dooku, it's not like some weird-ass double thing, you know, or some weird lasso thing. It really is great. I do think that, like I said, the Order 66 scene can look a bit strange, especially when Aayla Secura dies. But other than that, I do think that sometimes the negative about the prequel trilogy is that it can get over choreographed, and what I mean by that is essentially the end battle between Darth Vader, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. You're supposed to believe that these guys are really pissed off and they want to kill each other. You have a Sith and you have a Jedi fighting, and while it is very intense, because that is essentially the whole thing, you have these characters who you've had Episode 1, 2, Clone Wars TV show, all of that to kind of go together. And then, of course, it all comes to a head in this final battle. And it's a great-looking battle, and it's fun, inventive, and it's intense. However, the one negative I can have about some of the prequel, not all of them, but some of the prequel fights, are that they're too over-choreographed. You look at their faces, and it's almost like they're mad, but then half of them, they're like, okay, I can't mess this up. You know, it's very, you know, it's going like that for a really long time, and they're just, you can tell they practice this forever, and that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because you're supposed to believe they want to kill each other, and if you want to have a fight scene go on this long, that's fine. And again, I love that fight scene, but if you're going to have it last that long, at least make it look less like they're dancing and more like they want to kill each other. That's my only major complaint about this movie, is that some of the fight scenes, really, it's only the, I really believe it's only the end one with Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar, but it does look very over-choreographed, and that is a bad thing. You know, it's almost like because if you actually watch the special features in the trailers, this scene was the big climactic part of this movie. This is the headliner of the film, and it's great. But again, if you watch it, there's too much, you know, choreography going on. Just have more like Last Jedi. I keep bringing it up, but it's true. The throne room scene is amazing because it's not over-choreographed. It does not, you know, it really is just a spinning, and Rey's missing, and they're missing, and they're kind of punching and kicking and going like this. It feels like they want to kill each other. This one, you get that, but you also get that it's kind of too much, if that's what I'm saying. So that would technically be a small negative. Going on to the cheese, or the mozzarella cheese. How cheesy and corny is this film compared to 1 and 2? Well, like I said, some lines are cheesy, some edits are cheesy, especially there is a scene when General Grievous and Obi-Wan Kenobi are fighting on Utapau, and Grievous kind of like takes his claw hands and like throws Obi-Wan, and he hits the thing, and he goes, and they dub in, of course, because his mouth doesn't move, and it sounds really bad. You know, there are a few, Obi-Wan's great, Ewan McGregor is a great Obi-Wan, but there are a few scenes, even in Episode 2, when he meets the younglings, and he goes, "Hello," it's like, ooh, that's creepy, you know what I mean? Why would you, thank God this damn thing's off. Why would you go, "Hello," to a bunch of kids? That's kind of creepy, like I said. And then in this one, of course, when Grievous throws him, he goes, "Ugh," like that, and I'm like, who makes that sound? That's really weird. And then, of course, he kicks Grievous, and he goes, "Ah," because he hurts his leg, and that redeemed it. But just the fact that he threw him and that he hit a thing, he was like, "Ugh." I'm like, what the heck was that? He sounded like he has, like, you know, some weird Bane problem from DC. It's just really weird. I don't know. I didn't like that, I'm not going to say moan, but I didn't like that, you know, fighting noise, because it just sounds really weird. His mouth doesn't even move, so it really is cheesy. But that's about it. You know, some of the lines, like I said, are cheesy. But other than that, the acting is really well done in this one. I don't know why, but it's just better. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Of course, Padme Amidala Natalie Portman. She is better than before. However, she still needs a little work. She is a little wooden at times, a little stiff. Now, again, if you overreact and go, "Oh my God, Anakin," and you flip out, that is bad. That's cheesy. But when you have too much and you're like, "Oh my God, Anakin," or "I can't believe he did that," that's not believable. So you really need an actor needs to strike the balance between overacting and just stiff acting. Or wooden acting. And she does an okay job in this compared to 1 and 2, but she still is the worst actor in the prequel trilogy. She's good in 4, so I don't know what the heck happened, but something happened there. Order 66, and of course the combination and the aftermath that this has, and of course Jedi Fallen Order. So, this isn't really a spoiler for Jedi Fallen Order. If you have not played the game, we all know that it takes place 5 years after this film, Revenge of the Sith, and of course it touches parts from Order 66, and that is really why Cal Kestis goes on this journey. And all that, so that's pretty cool. If you haven't seen my Jedi Fallen Order review, go check it out. It is live right now. So, with that being said, though, again, Order 66 has this huge implementation, I think, of all of these different factors. The Clone Wars being engineered from birth, for what you find out in the Clone Wars TV show. All these things happen. So it's not like the clones were always bad. It's that the clones were always good, and then when Palpatine rigged the thing on their head, they went crazy. And of course, that's when Yoda and Bail Organa say they have to reprogram. Yoda and Obi-Wan say they have to reprogram the clones, because they weren't always bad, they were always good, except that they were, if you watch the Clone Wars TV show, you know what I'm talking about. Very, very traumatic scene for Star Wars, for sure, and it's very important, but also there was that Aayla Secura scene, so it's kind of cheesy there. But other than that, I really did enjoy the scene, and it was heartbreaking nonetheless. Going over the loose ends with Palpatine, of course, we do know that Palpatine in this film is, of course, the main villain of Star Wars. And a lot of people with the sequel trilogy go, "Oh, Snoke's the main villain," or "Kylo Ren's the main villain." Kylo Ren technically is the main villain of the sequel trilogy, but overall, from the entire Skywalker saga, Sheev Palpatine is the guy in charge. He's always been there since Episode 1, and even when he dies in Return of the Jedi, Episode 6, of course we do find out that he's alive somehow in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. But he really much is the fan. And even though he's not in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, he really is he's an omnipotent force that we really shouldn't F with. And let's see what happens. But again, he is a good villain. A lot of people say he's too cheesy, or whatever, he's campy in this film. I do think that Ian McDiarmid plays a fantastic Palpatine in this. He really is good. There's some scenes where him and Anakin are talking, and I'm freaking invested. I'm like, "Wow, you're great. You're killing. You're doing great. You're doing great. Oh, you lost me." And he lost me when, of course, there's one scene where Sheev Palpatine and Mace Windu are fighting in the Chancellor's room. And now here's the thing: this can be a negative, but I'm not going to count it as a negative, because now that I'm watching it as a critic, I kind of understand it. And as, of course, watching the Clone Wars, I get it too. Palpatine, since Episode 1, has always been kind of this guy in charge, this evil guy, but he's always trying to pretend it, and he's hiding it. So now that he's finally able to show that he's a badass villain, he's going to do that. And of course, he's not really Thanos. He's not this super serious villain. He cackles, he laughs, he knows that he screwed the entire Jedi and the Republic over by doing this move, and he succeeded in this. Even his death, he succeeded because he's in the new movie. So he's always been there, even if we haven't seen him in certain films. And of course, when he's going like that stupid jab where he takes the red lightsaber and he goes like this, really dumb face. It looks so retarded dumb, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, it looks dumb. There are certain things in Star Wars movies that, on the surface, look really stupid, but then when you really think about it for more than 5 seconds, it makes sense that he's laughing all the time and making weird faces, because he is crazy, and he has been hiding it, and now that he's able to show that he's not, he's having a good time with it, and of course that is a lot of the laughing as well, especially with the fight during Yoda, because he's a crazy motherfudger. That's how it goes. Of course, the Clone Wars TV show improves everything, like I said. Very much going to talk about this. It is something when you watch the movie and then you watch the Clone Wars TV show, you really do have to go 1, 2, Clone Wars 3, because if you don't do that, you're not going to get the full experience. And I get it, it's a lot of material with the show. However, please watch it. It definitely is worth your time. And it is canon, and it does make the entire prequel trilogy a lot better. At least for me. Of course, I said here, I do buy how Anakin turns evil because of the Clone Wars. If I were to watch 1, 2, 3, I wouldn't necessarily get it. I understand that Anakin's pissed off at the Jedi and that he wants to save his wife, but that's not enough for me, for a big Jedi Knight to turn. However, watching the Clone Wars animated movie and animated show, I buy it now, because there's so many things in that show where he's getting pissed off and he's kind of taking it, and then he can't take it anymore. He loses his mom, he loses Ahsoka Tano, and now he loses Padme, his wife. So now he's really pissed, and this show really does help implement the fact that, yeah, he's going through a lot. And now in Episode 3 with Palpatine, this is kind of the last straw for him. So it really is great and very essential to really understand this, how Anakin turns in, by watching the Clone Wars. Of course, Yoda, Luke, Leia, and Palpatine. Of course, we do see Padme give birth to Luke and Leia. We see where they go. Of course, Leia goes with Bail Organa to Alderaan. And then, of course, Luke goes to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru to Tatooine. And, of course, then we have Obi-Wan Kenobi watch him. And then if you watch the Rebels TV show, we find out that Obi-Wan kills someone very, very iconic to Star Wars right before A New Hope. So there's a lot of cool things. Even the Rebels show is canon. Great show, too. But, of course, that takes place after Episode 3, Solo, all that stuff. But still, very cool. We have the imagery. Now, there's a lot of things I picked up on here watching, again, the full movie as a critic. Because I look for certain things and I just would watch it with my buddies, you know, or my parents, whatever. And there's one scene of imagery which I really like, which no one, I don't think, really talked about yet, considering it came out in 2005, unless I'm wrong. But there's a scene where Emperor Palpatine is in the Senate chambers with Yoda, and he's having a fight scene. And they're kind of cutting between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Mustafar and Yoda and Palpatine in the Senate throne room. And Palpatine is laughing and cackling, you know, he's having a great time, and he's throwing these, you know, I don't know what the hell, they're like the chairs or the discs or whatever, like the I don't know, the disc things. He's throwing the chairs that they sit in at Yoda. And at first glance, you're like, why are they fighting in this room? You know, okay, it looks cool, and it's cool that he's throwing it. It's an inventive fight scene. But when you really think about it, a lot of Star Wars has imagery and stuff that you can think about behind and really get more out of the scene. And when I got more, think about it. Why is Palpatine throwing those chairs? Not just because George Lucas said, it looks cool. Because Palpatine has been masquerading as a senator in this room for so many years, and now not only is he sticking it to the Jedi in the New Republic, but he's also sticking it to the Senate. When he's throwing those discs, chairs, things at Yoda, he's saying death to the Senate, death to everything I stood for. I'm pissed, I'm Palpatine, this is who I am, I'm a Sith Lord, death to everything I've been working for, it's a trick, you guys lost, I won. And that is exactly what it's saying, and I love that imagery, man, that when he throws those things at Yoda, he's saying death to the Senate, and I freaking like that. Let's see here. Palpatine laughs again because he was born hiding. He isn't, blah, blah, blah. Palpatine is very smart in this movie. A lot about Palpatine is good in this film. He really is a smart guy. He takes precautions in, you know, not only kind of screwing over Anakin, but also taking precautions. Okay, I killed Dooku, and now I'm going to train Anakin. And then, in Return of the Jedi, we know, how come, you know, after from Palpatine, Darth Vader, Anakin just dies right there. He's so powerful that how could the Chosen One die? And of course, we do know now it's canon that Emperor Palpatine rigged his suit so that it would be very vulnerable to electricity. But that just shows how smart Palpatine is. And I'm assuming in The Rise of Skywalker, he's going to be a smart villain too. Let's hope. But we'll have to see how that goes. And of course, to wrap everything up, this is by far my favorite of the prequel trilogy. It has the best acting, the best sound, the best writing, the best directing, the best editing, the best everything out of the prequels. And not to say I hate Episode 1 and 2. I love Episode 1 and 2, the same as every other Star Wars movie. But when you watch it as a critic, me, watching it as just a film, not as a Star Wars fan for the first time, you notice things that are good and bad. And this movie has a lot of good. So I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith an A-. I really, really enjoyed this movie. This is the best one out of the prequels. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. You can like Episode 2, your favorite. There's no judging. I love them all the same, but as a film, this very is a well-done production. So, thank you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Please tell me what you thought about Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. If you want me to talk about anything else Star Wars, please comment that, and I will talk about it below. Thank you guys. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you guys in the next video.